Welcome back to another episode of the Creative Chronicles, the podcast where we chat with awesome creatives about their journeys. I'm your host, Courtney Joyner of Brush Strokes Pottery, and I am so pumped to bring you this conversation today. I had the chance to chat with Steven of Brochet, the comedic yarn phenomenon that is taking over social media. Combining his background in sketch comedy writing and his new passion for crochet, Steven is inspiring so many people to pick up some yarn and try their hand at fiber arts. In the short time since its launch, Brochet has inspired so many connections between children and parents, bridging that generational gap and creating lasting memories through art. I've been a huge fan of Brochet's videos since they launched and laugh constantly every single time I see them. Now getting a glimpse into Steven's creative mind, it's no wonder why his new leap into the fiber arts world has been a huge success, setting him up for some really exciting new adventures. This conversation is one for everyone, no matter your age, gender, or your craftiness skill. It's upbeat, it's inspirational, it's just pure joy. And it's a great reminder that no matter the art medium, we're all artists. So without further ado, let's get started. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still morning time, your time, I guess.
It is. It's 10 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
I'm LA, Los Angeles, California.
How long have you been in LA?
All of my life-ish.
Have you?
Yeah, so I was born in like an hour south of here, and I grew up about an hour and a half, 2 hours south of here.
Wow, so
yeah.
you're right around there all your life.
I'm a product, yeah. So I grew up in South Orange County, and then I moved out here when I was young, when I was like 17, and I've been out here ever since.
You don't find, I don't know, tell me if this is wrong, you don't find too many people that are like native to the Los Angeles area, I would say.
Here's how like relativity is everything. As a native, I know a lot of people from here. You know what I mean? So
Okay,
I think that's kind of like, I feel like that's almost everywhere you go. With that said, absolutely, you're right. LA is for sure, a town that welcomes all orphans. You know what I mean? But yeah, we're still out here.
Man, Austin is becoming that way, though. I will say we're becoming the city that welcomes all, which is great. I'm all for diversity and having people here. Our infrastructure is just
not ready for it.
Our roads, man. I'm like,
so
I know.
So that's where you're from, Austin?
I've been here for over 20 years, but I grew up in Texas all my life with a brief stint overseas when we were younger. But so I'm a Texan.
Oh, right on. Sure. Okay. I do love Austin. We spent a little bit of time in Austin. It's pretty fun. Although, yeah, that would be tough. Small towns that like suddenly boom, you know?
Well, if you ever get back, you'll have to let me know. We'll take you to our favorite Tex-Mex and,
Oh, I love it. Deal. 100%. I'm into that.
Queso, if you like a good margarita. I
like all of those things. I'll eat some barbecue. I'll chow down on some barbecue.
Yes.
I feel like that's a very basic thing. As a non-Texan, I feel like a lot of Texas people might be really sick of other people talking about the barbecue, No,
because we have good barbecue. I don't get sick of it.
Okay.
We have good barbecue. We do Tex-Mex right and queso. Well, for those that may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Hi, everybody. My name's Steven. Nice to meet everybody. But that's not me being Steven isn't the reason I'm on this here with you right now, Courtney. I am also Brochet. You might know me from the Test It videos or, me yelling it works a lot. I crochet fuzzy weaponry and fun amigurumi is what I'm calling it. And just, fuzzy, funny fiber arts.
That is so cool. Fun fact, I just learned that term. Is it amigurumi?
Amigurumi. Yeah.
Now, when you said that, I was like, wow, actually feel cool. I know something.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you see, I'm adding the gore because I'm funny and ironic. It is a term. So basically, for anybody who doesn't know, if we're just crafters or makers and not crocheters, amigurumi, the easiest way to look, like there are wearables, there's blankets, and there's cardigans, and then there's like cute little plushies. The cute little plushies and the stuffed animals, that's amigurumi.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not the cute little plushies.
No, no. It's not anime and it's not cute plushies. Although I will say, if I can, and I'm not, I'm joking. If I can defend my brand for a moment,
Do it.
it's it like ironically is anti-violent. You know what I mean? Like I kind of feel like I'm Trojan horsing intersectionality and like mindfulness in a weird way. But I'll get off the soapbox.
No, I want to delve deeper into this, but I think my first question is how you got into crochet. Have you always done crochet, or has that been a new hobby?
It's been a brand new hobby. So I am a crafty person. I've always grown up loving doing things with my hands and all that kind of fun stuff, right? I come from a family of like engineers, right? I just started crocheting 4 months ago to this day, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. Valentine's Day, or I guess a day before Valentine's Day. So almost 4 months. Valentine's Day, I actually started crocheting like properly.
What made you pick it up?
There's like two paths to answer that question. So I'll tell the quick one is I was sitting one night, I saw a thumbnail of crocheted moccasins that looked radical. I was like, dude, I want those. I didn't know how to crochet. I didn't have yarn. I didn't have a crochet hook. Through a couple YouTube tutorials, I learned how to make like t-shirt yarn with like an old raggedy t-shirt.
Wow.
And then I whittled a crochet hook out of my girlfriend's chopstick.
No.
And then I made a swatch, like, which is just like kind of a square, but that was like fun. And then so that was like, okay, tomorrow I'll go to Michael's. And then that's kind of what started it. And
Wow.
for what it's worth, I'll never forget this. At Michael's, she wasn't condescending or mean in any way, but an employee was there and she saw me just fumbling around, not knowing anything at all, looking at knitting needles. And she was like, "Hey, sweetie, have you tried crochet? It's like knitting, but one less needle." And that I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And like I might have been a knitter if it wasn't for her, to be honest with
If
you.
it wasn't for her.
Yeah.
Wow. How
Yeah.
crazy. Okay, so that's telling that you are the product of engineers, that you whittled a chopstick and were able to kind of engineer it the way you needed it to be.
So I'm a writer by trade, actually. So I'm a TV writer. And also I've dealt with like I'm also a product of the strikes, right? So the strike was a bummer. Post strike was even a bigger bummer. We don't need to dive in unless you want to. But basically, like through the last 15 years of my career, it's spent trying to figure out something to do with my hands and my mind while I'm in between writing things. So yeah, so it was just kind of a natural progression to get to something like this sooner than later.
Wow.
But like on the other, I'm looking at some clay models of like Ren and Stimpy I did over here. I whittled a trebuchet. I'm into baseball cards. I love pocket knives. Anything that's like somebody made. It's cool.
Yeah. So you've always been a creative person, like you said, since childhood. Like, what's one of your
Oh,
earliest
totally.
memories of like what you did as a child?
I mean, so I have been very fortunate to have anything that I'm really excited about. I've had people around me supporting, right? Which I've been very, very lucky. But one of my earliest memories is auditioning for a theater for like Rosie's Chicken Soup, and I was auditioning to be the character of Alligator in kindergarten. So one of my earliest memories is running lines with my mom in our kitchen, and just like kind of bouncing up and down and like just saying these lines over and over. So that was like my first true memory. But with that said, too, though, like I loved football. I played baseball growing up. I was a huge paintballer. I built an entire course in my backyard that kids used to play every weekend. We got in a lot of trouble. It was not legal, but just had a lot of fun things to be able to dive into growing up, for sure.
So your mind is constantly on the move.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I'm totally neurodivergent. Not a little bit, a lot of it. But like, yeah, I've been, again, had a lot of support around me and have been able to kind of spend the last decades of my life kind of tuning it and figuring out tools and ways to manage it and kind of direct it in the right way.
What have been some of the tools that have helped you? Because I think a lot of creatives, I mean, we have so much that we want to do and so much that shiny objects, if you will,
Sure,
for lack
sure.
of a better word. So it's really trying to focus and hone in and
Sure.
find that, niche, if you will, for yourself.
Um, that's the tough part too, is like when you kind of take like a 30,000 foot, is that 30,000 foot perspective on something? I think
Yeah.
that's the term. Uh, you realize that crocheting and pottery and writing and acting and singing, it's all the same kind of thing. At the end of the day, you're just trying to like, how do you share your art? How do you
Mhm.
create it? How do you share it? And how do you figure out a way to sustain that cycle?
Mhm.
Right. And you just got to do it. And I know that's
Mm.
like the worst advice, because like when I was in that place of non-friction, when I was in that friction, right? When in that place in depression or a veil or whatever, I hear that advice and it's like, easy for you to say. You're doing it. I know that's what I'm saying. Like, and
Yeah.
it's what I'd say, like in a writing course, if I'm speaking to anybody about writing, the best thing the good draft is 15 drafts away from where you're at right now.
Mhm.
So get to that. You might as well get to that draft quickly. And I
Mhm.
think there, you just have to do it. And you spend so much time analyzing yourself and figuring out what am I and who am I. And at the end of the day, like, you're supposed to tell me that. Like,
Yeah.
you're supposed to analyze, and I'm supposed to not care about that and continue to enjoy my joy and go find it. And so I think, though, it's so much easier to say than to do. I've had 20 years of like breaking through barriers, mental and emotional barriers, to get to this place where I just wake up and work, you know?
Yeah. Get past that fear, right? I mean, that's like stopping us. And it's just,
Sure.
you say, like one day at a time, like one little bit at a time. If you had told me I was doing ceramics now as my younger self, I would have told you were insane. And each little bit I learn more and more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's at the, like, when I see someone who's industrious and more than anything courageous and brave, and trying to create something on their own, it's such a, platonically, right, but it's such an attractive thing, right? It's
Yeah.
like I'm so drawn to that. And you realize, and the fear is real, but also
Hmm.
too, it's, for me, so fear, yes, that's absolutely, but for me, I connected it with ego much more than fear, right?
Mm.
I'm much more afraid. It's a fear, but I don't want to be considered lame. I don't want my
Mm.
friends to think blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the day, as an artist, I realized I have not allowed I have inhibited so many opportunities because of two or three hypothetical people in my mind who I don't even see anymore in my life. You know,
Hmm.
one of them's Tyler, my fifth grade bully. The other one's, you know what I mean? Like, there are these
Yeah.
three people in my head that I'm afraid of what they're gonna think, and that's why I don't decide, like, do things, and
Yeah.
they don't even they don't even exist in my life anymore.
No, but
So
they're taking
yeah,
up space in our brain.
wild. And I will say, one of the most like wonderful, joyous, positive, overwhelmingly positive thing that happened is the amount of support and oxytocin you get is directly related to how vulnerable and how much you put yourself out there. And it's like, that's almost the only constant to this thing, is that it's a very interesting thing that I'm like starting to really, just think about and consider. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I love that. We talk a lot about it here thus far, and even in the short time that we've been on the podcast. But just as artists, in tapping into that sense of worthiness, and that we're worthy to put something out there and to create that art, and that it doesn't matter. We all can do it. But I
Sure.
think it's just those that actually really kind of put themselves out there, just like I'm going for it, like you said.
Just on that, really quick, on that point. So Brochet has been around for 3.5 months, right? The
Wow.
20th, the 20th are whatever the month is, and the 20th, that's the new anniversary of it, right?
Okay.
And if I were to tell you the reactions I got 3.5 months ago, it's like, wait, what are you doing? Wait, why aren't you writing on that show? Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, I got this idea, and brochet, like, wait, you're a guy who crochets, so what? It's like, no, but just hear me out. No, I want to, like, but I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know
Yeah.
what it was. I didn't even know what it was until other people kind of told me, right? And all I was really doing was just focusing on like telling the jokes that I wanted to tell and making the things I wanted to make. And like, I knew that they were good. They were good to me. I really felt proud of them, and I wanted to just get it out there. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, like, Erin, my girlfriend, and I, and she's my person, all that stuff. we kind of made a promise to each other in the beginning of the year, and she's a singer and an actor and a really, really talented performer and works as a working actor and a singer out in LA. But we made a promise to ourselves, like, we are going to put ourselves out there more.
Wow.
Because of who knows what opportunities her and I have not been a part of. And she needed to lift me up at times, be like, hey, I'm about to post this. I know I'm going to get 300 views. And I would joke, be like, can you tell me I'm not worthless? And you know what I mean? And like, you got to have those people around you too. It's tough to do it in a vacuum.
Yeah, for sure. A community is another thing that is kind of a constant around here. Like as an artist, like finding those people that can build you up for sure. I will say it's taken me, the idea for this podcast was 2 years in the making, and I overthought it in my head. And I thought, why can I do this? Who am I to get out there and to do something like this?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, who am I not to try to do this? You never know. You never know what an opportunity is going to do. You never know by asking somebody for just advice or just to ask somebody that you respect who may be a little bit further along in their career, ask a question, what that opportunity is going to bring your way.
100%.
It's just asking. It's just being brave enough to put yourself out there.
I've never in my life met anybody who has been approached by another artist who is genuine and like authentic and wanting to share it in some way. I've never met another artist who thinks down on that, I will say though, it does cross over because it's art for commerce, right? It is art for commerce. And I think that's like a very important thing to understand, because if you want to sustain yourself as an artist, it is art for commerce. So I do think it's very important to figure those things out and to understand like how to sustain, how to monetize, how to create a brand and create some sort of like promise of a premise, why people want to come to you, right? But I do think if that's on the forefront, man, we're all experts. We're all the most expert detectives in the world. We spend our entire lives looking at people's faces. And it's so clear when someone's coming to you or you're going to them to kind of solicit to get ahead versus like wanting to make a connection.
I agree with that. The genuineness shines through for sure. So Brochet started 3 months ago, which, fun fact, I just was learning this the other day from my husband. And you're saying it's kind of on the 20th. Do you know the 20th is always like that, what changes the seasons of
Shut up, really?
Yeah. So the 20th of June is the official, it's the summer solstice. It's the day with the longest light. So that starts summer. And then 3 months prior, ahead, then the 20th will be
winter solstice.
Cool. So there you go. You just have a tie-in and a connection. It was meant to be.
I'm gonna go study numerology.
You need one more thing.
I'm changing my brand to just like astral projection and like astrology.
Okay, so tell me about martial arts. Do you have a background in martial arts? How did this come to be that this is what you're making, are ninja stars and weaponry? Yeah.
I would say I imagine what the most basic little boy stuff to ingest as a child growing up, and that's me, right? Like,
okay,
like Terminator 2 is my Taylor Swift. Yes, there's like a martial arts aspect of it, right? There's martial arts, and maybe I got to like orange belt, but no, it's more. There's the history of it. I love weaponry. Like, there's an entire history weaponry of it. Then on top of it, it's Looney Tunes. I've seen this in every cartoon growing up. And then on top of that, it's sketch comedy. And then on top of that, I think it's every movie I've ever watched, right? I grew up watching Kurosawa. I can't say his name right because because I've been saying Kurosawa all month long because I'm in my Kurosawa era. Kurosawa, right, is like samurai movies, Western movies. I grew up on all of these things. So everything I'm looking at is like, I'm realizing that it's just kind of turning 2D into 3D, you know? So I would say like martial arts is probably 5% of inspiration. The rest of it is pulled, equally spread apart all of those other things.
Wow. So this is just the start. This could be just the start of it. And who knows where this can morph into. Wow.
100%.
And you're making, are you selling any of the products? Or are you mainly like, hopefully you inspire or to teach people patterns?
A few different things. I would not be able to output what I'm outputting right now if I sold my stuff. I wouldn't be able to make it. But what I do is absolutely I sell my patterns. I don't like the idea of any hard paywall, right?
Mhm.
But I do want to pay rent. So the idea is essentially like tutorials are free always. On my tutorials, I've been putting them mainly on TikTok, but I'm going to start kind of diversifying my bonds across everything with the tutorials.
Mhm.
That has the pattern streaming, and you can watch that for free all day. I do have an Etsy page, therealbrochet.etsy.com. And I kind of consider it donation based. I sell my patterns. I'm kind of continuously dropping them as I go. Again, my priority is I realize my passion is in like community driven outreach stuff and entertaining and connecting and engaging with people, right? Like that is truly my passion. It's not, jamming out 100 ninja stars for market, that kind of thing. With that said, every once in a while, I like to do really fun kind of, I'll throw 20 ninja stars in inventory and then I'll go on live and we do like a ninja star live night event where anyone who bought one can jump on and like roll a D20 die or play a card game with me and have a chance to win like a
That's
one-off.
fun.
I made like some white glow in the dark ones, some cool black ones, gold ones. So in that respect, I try to do it as much as I can,
Yeah.
but no.
Yeah.
But patterns are always there. And then merch, I'm selling mugs and shirts and hoodies and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
So have you ever, because that's your slogan you kind of coined, would you
Yes.
say, was it works at the end of your
Sure.
videos?
Sure, I would say others coined it, but yes, I would say others told me that was the slogan. I didn't realize I was repeating it over and over and over. Totally honestly. I did, but see, that's the thing. Like as the creator, it's like, no, I said it works. I said it worked. I said still works. I said, oh, they work. I didn't
But
just
that's not what people heard.
yes. But yes, I have for sure heard the feedback and I have taken it.
But that's a whole thing that I think is important that artists can tap into that I think they forget about. Like the yes, you have certain products, but like the bigger brand that can be a part of it and to bring people in because, for me, I find like people maybe don't have the price point or the funds to pay for a higher price item, but maybe they want to support you. So if they can do that and they can have like a t-shirt or a coffee mug or be promoting that gets other people to you, I think is huge. And we forget about that.
Totally. I completely agree. Well, I think that's also like, I'm so excited for the crochet stuff, but I'm also equally and more excited about the community that it's building, right? So it's like, there's this really cool thing that, yeah, I agree. I think what's most important, what's most important, and this is that art for commerce thing, I think art is first though in that, right? So like I was really hesitant to even start putting merch out because I didn't want it to appear like I was trying to be opportunistic and try to like, do that. But then when I realized like people really want to wear it works and also like I really want people to wear that and I really want to be able to have more conversations and like
Yeah.
and then you're also realizing that like brothers are buying it for their sisters for birthdays and like oh my god, that's so cool that like I got to be a part of your birthday, and yeah, it's a really exciting part. But again, I do think like the priority is the community, you know what I mean? Not the commerce of it, right? And so the reason I'm saying that I think is because I think what I'm assuming and deducing, I guess, is like a lot of your listeners are crafters and makers who are aspiring and they're small business owners, which is awesome. So are we.
Yeah.
I think the biggest advice I can give somebody, like the number one advice is like, don't put co, if you're just starting on a social media, right? Don't put .co, you know what I mean? Don't have the business label first because I want to get to know you, you know? And so that's really I think the important thing is just like engagement, groundwork, and like all the branding, all the capitalizing, all that stuff has to be the chicken, not the egg.
Mm-hmm. Let it come naturally, if you will. Yeah. And I think to your point, you're shining through still from that genuine nature. Like if that's truly where all of it is coming from, like, I mean, as an outsider, that shines through. Like that's kind of secondary to the community you have for sure created.
Thank you.
Online.
I appreciate that.
Looking for that perfect gift, that plant lover in your life? Introducing ceramic cactus trees from Brush Strokes Pottery. Handcrafted with care, these timeless pieces bring a touch of nature indoors. what sets them apart? You can change out the lights for every season, making it a year-round lighted keepsake. Add some greenery and warmth to any space with these unique creations in over 30 different colors and styles. Visit our website, brushstrokespottery.com, to find the perfect one for you. And be sure to use code PODCAST for 10% off your first order. Brush Strokes Pottery, handcrafted ceramics, bringing happiness home.
But also too, if I can, but also, this is pure joy.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I had so much fun just making this. Like, dude, I got to make this. Like, look at it.
We have to describe. So it's an arrow with an eyeball in the middle of it with the yarn hanging from it.
Right.
As if it's like blood kind of hanging off.
So like, not to be selfish, but community or no community, I got to do this. You know what I mean? Like I get to, that's what I got to spend yesterday doing. You know,
yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's like pure joy. It's so much fun, y'all. It's so fun to create
there's
stuff.
so much therapy in art, you know, and I think that if that's the little bit that you're inspiring people and they maybe go out and, you know, pick up a crochet needle and try it themselves just for the pure sake of having that like happiness for a moment, then do you feel like you've done what it is you hope to do?
I feel like too big for my britches even saying yeah, right? Because but that was a complete unknown consequence. Wonderful consequence of this was realizing like I have a direct tap, an IV into everybody's opinions. And for what it's worth, it's been utterly overwhelmingly positive. And just, it's the coolest thing in the world to hear, just making people laugh is just the best, most amazing medicine ever. It really, it truly is. I don't think there's another way into somebody's like soul, right? There's not a better way to be like to know somebody and see somebody than to make them laugh, you know?
Absolutely.
And that's just been so incredibly overwhelming and wonderful to be able to read comments and be able to hear that feedback. And then on the other end too, it's inspiring people to pick up crochet hooks for the first time who never did. It's also inspiring like kids to connect with moms and grandmas and aunts where they normally never, a little boy who never necessarily had much in common with, you know, their great aunt or something. And I'm getting a lot of amazing feedback and I can't get enough of it, like to hear those kind of stories. So yeah, it's been awesome. It's an amazing thing.
That's really cool because you're kind of, I would say, paving the way a little bit for kind of the male side into the fiber arts world, because I wouldn't say that there's many. Maybe I'm completely wrong if I'm speaking if I'm speaking out of line, but I would say typically it's been more female centered, and you've seen, you know, if it's your great aunt or something. And I was speaking to somebody else about this, like crochet is becoming trendy again. I mean, since like the pandemic, and now you're being able to take where we're going and also bring it to maybe people that would have never picked that up before. That has to feel pretty cool.
Totally. 100%. You know, it's funny. I've gotten this quite a bit, right? That kind of like, you know, it's, hey, and you're not saying this, but like, hey, crochet's for girls. What's up? Or I want to crochet, but my mom would never let me, or my dad won't, or any of that kind of stuff. And usually what I say to that is like, I don't necessarily subscribe to that, right? But like, let's live in it. Let's play in the trenches just for a second. You know what I think when I think of the first crocheters? Cavemen who wanted to trap mammoths.
Wow.
You know who crochets? Sailors who made nets, Magellan, pioneers, killing krakens, gladiators. Chainmail is literally metal crochet, y'all. No, you're wrong. Like, and I'm not saying you. I'm saying the figurative person is completely wrong. Like the trend of it becoming a feminine thing only happened because Queen Victoria decided to start crocheting some shawls and 50. You know what I mean? It's a cyclical thing, right?
Right.
Marcus Aurelius, the father of Stoicism, the dudiest dude of all time, right? Crocheted, literally said, finding peaceful, mindful things with your hands is to get closer to a god, right?
Yeah.
So I reject it entirely, but also like, I hear you. I'm open and I'm down to talk to you about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like somebody asked me, like a little boy reached out. It's like, my dad doesn't want me to crochet. What do you suggest I do? Right? And I was like, here's what you do, dude. Crochet 2 swords, show up to him in the morning and challenge him to a crochet duel, and you tell me if he's not going to be cool with you crocheting anymore.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's sure, we're seeing a lot of granny squares and we're seeing a lot of cardigans out there, and those are awesome. And I'm making a cardigan right now. But like, it's not, that's, there's so much cooler stuff out there too. As cool stuff out
Yeah.
there, right?
Plus, then I mean, what a beautiful thing that you've given now this child an opportunity to maybe connect with their parent in a different
Sure.
way. I mean, art, not everybody gets it. And so it opens a door now to have a conversation or a memory, right? And that's like what we want. As I get older and I realize that, like, cherish those little memories
Yeah.
that you may not get back, or those, not on your phone, you're doing something like.
And I've never articulated this out loud, and this is literally a challenge. I defy anybody to show the hard crusted dude who's held bent into their beliefs of gender. Show them some of my test-its, and they're gonna, like, what are they gonna say? You know what I mean? Like, even if they still hold on to what they believe, I'm gonna make them laugh. Like,
Yeah.
and so it's a silly thing. I also think too, it's like, I grew up, my dad was the captain of his football team and also competitive ballroom dancing, right? And like,
Wow.
and I grew up like listening to stories about my grandma telling me about how he, like, and this, I'm not condoning violence, but how he like stood up to bullies, against he wasn't getting bullied, but like, he stood up to that, and that kind of a guy. And like, that's a dude. That's, you know what I mean? That's who I want to look up to, and that's who I want to be. You know what I mean?
That's really cool. Really cool. Well, you definitely make people laugh. We all follow you around here in the studio, but then I'll show my husband all the time, and he always gets a kick out of it too. Cause it's just,
Yes.
I mean, it's, I think it's funny, but it's also, just that silly humor. And I'm just curious your creative process for coming through, like, with the videos, coming up with the videos, because so your background is in writing and in film, and that obviously is playing into that.
Sure. Yeah.
But are you like storyboarding this out? Are you kind of just going in the moment?
So I will for sure preface this whole thing with like 15 years of professionally like writing and directing and producing like sketch comedy too, which is a very specific type of thing, has kind of prepared me for this for sure. And I'm not I would describe myself as like a skeptic in constant search of spirituality, right? So I'm not a huge proponent of like fate brought me here, anything, but it is a whole bunch of boxes checked, in terms of like XP and equipping certain traits and characteristics to allow me to kind of do it. But I will say it is chaotic. I have a good idea of like a schedule rollout, and it really does feels like I'm show running a variety show with like 7 branded series going on. All of them have scheduled weekly rollouts I'm trying to hit, all that kind of stuff. It's a lot. It's
Organized. Lot. It's organized in your head much more to a T.
There's certain things that I need to list out. When it comes to creative ideas, I have my own process, and I'm pretty precious about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of it's not writing certain things down and seeing if things stick, and if I forget it really didn't need to be around. Because the minute you write it down, suddenly you owe it something.
That's true.
But but I have also there's a line in the sand where it's like, okay, this is that idea that I need to execute on. So yeah, it's a mixed bag. I have my own weird process, but it's a lot. I wake up and I work until I can't work, and then I rest.
And then you rest, and then you start over again. And you have what I would say, are they friends that are always a part of helping out, a part of the videos? Or are they
enemies, foes? The entrails of my vanquished foes. They are. So I'm super lucky to be able to have some really talented comedians and writers as my friends. And so, these are my friends and my neighbors that I've kind of, forced into my cahoots, my hijinks.
For anyone who hasn't seen or doesn't know maybe the premise of your videos, if it's, would you say, and you can interject here if I'm describing it wrong, but it's like, okay, hey, I crocheted this ninja star. Let's see if it works. And you throw it at your frenemy, if you will. And then from the other side, it like sticks like in their face, and then you've got the red yarn that's coming out as if it's like actually working and bleeding, and then it's a whole thing that you're running away like, it worked. So It's a whole series.
So That's one. Yeah. So that's one. I call that kind of like the test it videos. And so as I'm making these crocheted weapons, that's something I'm going to do. I'm going to test it on one friend specifically, but now I'm starting to spawn camp. So that's a video game term, by the way. I have a whole lore for this. There's a whole overarching story. What you don't realize is I'm a yarn looper. I'm the last of my kind.
What does that mean?
I jump through multiverses, and the people that I'm unaliving, they're the destroyers of worlds. So if any one of the versions of them, I know this is a lot, bear with me here. You need to like, if you don't love comics and like time loop paradox lore,
I'm getting better. I've been schooled on Marvel. Like my husband's made me watch everything like in the order. Like I'm learning all of comics.
So he'll dig this. There. So essentially, the deal is this: is I travel through all of the multiverses, and each time I'm testing a weapon out is a different universe I'm at. And I have to destroy all of these people before the day's end. Because if any one of them survive in any one of these multiverses, the entire existence crumbles. That's like the long storyline. But don't get overwhelmed, people. It's a 5-second sketch where you just see a really silly thing. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's bigger overarching storylines on all of these things. So
but that's really cool then. You know, I mean, that entices me to follow along just to see more what's going on.
And then the idea is like, what happens when one of them doesn't work? You know, and so like that kind of stuff. But there's like, that's one series I do. I also do just like silly sketches, and then I do fun tutorials. And then I'm going to start doing like really fun Kurosawa standoffs, which are like fun parodies of samurai movies. And, you know, just more and more and more. Just so much more.
That's so fun. Well,
can I tell you about one more, Courtney? I'm sorry. I have to tell you about one more. It's my yarn wick. I'm going to be doing a yarn wick series. So the deal is this. It's not pew-pews, though. It's going to be like nunchucks and yarn arts. But the deal is the thread thugs have kidnapped my girlfriend and my dog. And it's up to me to go back to the crocheted warrior life that I forsook to have this life of peace, to get them back.
Oh my gosh. My husband will fully enjoy that one for sure. So is your girlfriend, is she a part of many of the videos? I don't know that I have seen her. Now I'm going to have to go back.
No worries. So overwhelmingly, the test-its are the big things. But like, I do a whole bunch of fun stuff with her. It mixes in and out. I don't have like series, but yeah, she's awesome. She's a super talented performer as well. Her name's Erin Malby. Check her out. She's also instrumental in producing a lot of this stuff with me.
That's really cool. Is that fun to be able to work together on this? Yeah. Yeah,
it's been nice. It's actually been surprisingly good. You know, it's always a little scary, especially diving into business with a partner. But yeah, she's great. And it's at the point where even if I wanted to, it'd be an impossibility to kind of take down all the tasks in a day.
Yeah.
And so, it's great to have somebody I trust, for sure.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, for those who may be looking at your videos and saying, gosh, you have, 15 years experience. So of course you can produce or put something like this together. But I think as artists, it's very important to stay present on social media, and entertaining can be a part of that. What tips would you have to just start?
Sure.
Maybe some basic kind of, video tips.
So I'll also say the great thing about this, folks, is most people don't like high effort people. You know what I mean? The more effort you actually put into something, you're working against the current, right? So I just kind of like won the lottery with this combination of tone, editing style, what I'm physically doing and how it's looking. But I would actually say lower effort, knowing how the sausage is made, your journey from start to finish is kind of what most people want to see. So I think you're in good shape, right? Like, don't try to do that. Don't try to be high effort. Don't try to grasp more than you want to grasp. Like, I actually want to see you fumbling around in your camera and like learning about stuff and like, hey, what's up? So I'm starting this thing. Like, I think the vast amount of people want to see you fumbling around and figuring things out. That's why social media has taken over entertainment, because I don't want to, like, we don't
You
I
don't
don't
want
need
the
to see it.
overproduced. You want to see, as
Yeah.
I was just saying before we jumped on this call, that I had completely spilled clay slip
Yeah.
all down my leg, into my shoe, into my sock. It
See, I
was,
want to see that. I
I
don't
was
want to
like,
see. I don't want
great.
to see you cleaned up and stuff. I want
Yeah.
to see Courtney the chaos Courtney.
Chaos Courtney. Gosh, so many people will be like, yeah, we know her. My
That's you.
staff.
Yeah, that's the name of you on a Saturday night.
That is most days when I'm, here, it's coming in with 15 things in my arms and, like, we're going to do this. No, 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 no. We're going to do this. No, wait, let's go back and do this. That's, yeah. What inspires you on a daily basis?
I mean, everything. But I've also attuned my instrument. Like, but I've also I've kind of trained myself to do that. Like, I wake up and kind of like, all right, you know what I mean? And just kind of like trust that things are going to come, right? And don't get me wrong, I have left-minded, brain-dead tasks I need to take care of every day, but like, it's coming. One of my favorite quotes, it's Stephen King. It's about writing. I'm going to completely butcher it, but I'll give you the gist of it, is amateurs sit around and wait for inspiration. The rest of us get up and go to work. And hear me out. I'm not saying that disparagingly. As a writer, I'm thinking to myself, wait, so all I need to do is get up and just start typing and Stephen King thinks I'm a peer, right? Like, he says, the rest of us? Yeah, the rest of us. Just get it. Like, I don't need to write anything good. I'm Stephen King's peer if I just get up and work. And so there's that, like, I live by that half the time.
I love that. That's great. That's just simple.
And it's empowering. Like, all I need to do is do it. And I am a peer of every single artist who ever existed. And then you get into this like whole historical thing. Like, I'm riding this train. Like, I'm a part of history. It's really, it's poetic. It's cool.
It's such a mindset thing, isn't it? I mean, it's just tapping into that and just staying there. And then, and this get a little woo woo. What happens if you stay in that good loop? What happens if you say, "Gosh, I am an artist. I am." I beat myself up because I'm not a trained ceramicist, by anything. Like this kind of came my way, and I'll compare myself to others and then go, "Gosh, I'm not a ceramic artist." And I'm like, "But I am a ceramic artist. I do this."
You have a kiln, you know. Like, I don't, you know what I mean?
Fair. But
no, but I hear your point for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we just get in our own heads.
You mentioned imposter syndrome, right? And so I have worked I'm a WGA TV writer. I have won television shows Emmys. I've worked on good television shows. I do not consider myself a writer half the time. Right?
What?
But I say that as, I don't say that as like make me feel better, right? I say that as like, that is the monster you deal with forever and ever and ever. Yeah. It's not going to go away. It'll never go away. Enjoy it. That's the best advice I can have for imposter syndrome. Enjoy it. Take solace in the fact that every single artist has it. Aaron Sorkin says this, and I love this quote. And you'll notice like I've obviously studied writers and directors and producers much more than crafters in my life. But at the end of the day, but we're artists. We're all artists, right?
Yeah.
And Aaron Sorkin says this, and I love it. And boy, is it true. For me, at least. And he says, anytime I send any of my work, whether it's a finished draft of a movie that's been purchased, whether it's a pilot that I'm sending my manager or a letter I'm sending a friend, the moment before I before I hit send, I say to myself, is this the moment I get outed as a fraud? Aaron Sorkin is saying that. He's won 10 Oscars. Wow. Right? So
yeah.
You're going to have to deal with it. Yeah. I don't got any advice for you. Deal with it like the rest of us. That's like tough. That's imposter syndrome is the most tough love I can be. Yeah. Because I have it every day.
But then it's going back to what we were talking about before. Then if you know that this is going to happen every day, it's still choosing to put one foot in front of the other to try.
Yeah.
It's going to be there. It's welcoming it in, allowing it to be a part of the whole mix, and then still walking with it. Come along, come with me, because we're going to go this way. Because if I sit here with you, then I'm not going to do anything.
100%. I think it's also too, it's like, there's not going to be anything in life that you're not going to have to endure something, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's about finding, like, for me, it's about finding these like pockets of just like pure focus, right?
Hmm.
And I find them all the time. You
Yeah.
know, I can manifest them. I just need to know what's happening, and then I need to get some ducks in a row, you
Yeah.
know? And so it really does kind of feel like magic, and it's a repeatable magic. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, I have a little fun question for you here. Finish this sentence.
Oh, geez.
If money and time were not an issue, and I could create anything, it would be.
Right now, specifically one movie in my head.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
cool.
And I'd make it for under 20 million.
Is that like a thing? Like that's not typical?
Yeah, so I guess
For
the
those
better
of us
way to
that are
say
not
it,
in
that
the
sounds like a monster number. So I would
right.
say, and I'd make an independent film, and I would choose to shoot a smaller budget and only pay the amount that I needed, so that I can prove that we don't need to spend $500 million to entertain somebody.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's a good thing that I don't, we don't need one $200 million movie. We need $201 million movies,
Yeah.
and I think that's analogous with every single thing we're doing. And I don't want to get heavy, but the entire middle class is going away because because we need the $200 million movie in every industry.
Yeah. But we need the small. Yeah. Well, you said it. You put it out there. You manifested it. So now it's going to be, and then
I,
I'm
you
going to
know,
see you at South by Southwest, and you'll be premiering it here in Austin, and then we'll get to go out for Tex-Mex, and so it's
I
literally going
love
to be
it.
a whole thing.
We'll
It's
do
going to be
it.
a whole thing. I know. I was trying to rack my brain. Like sometime we'll have to brainstorm something that we could do, some social media or virtually or something like that, but between the two of us together,
Oh,
some sort
collab
of
for
like
sure.
you throw something and then it comes this way, or if
Oh, that's
it's
fun. Ooh, you
cactus
know what
related
though?
or something like that.
We
I'm
could.
game. If you're game, I'm game.
I could be game. We could even do, your stuff is so much nicer than mine though. But like, we could do like some sort of art trade and like do
Yeah.
a cool me delivering it to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That would be fun.
Like, I throw it, something like that could be fun. That's so cool. Yeah, no, I think your work and your art is awesome. And I
Oh,
love seeing
thanks.
it. Yeah, for
Thanks.
sure.
It's fun to do, and I love, kind of the same like you, tapping into just the funny side of creating videos and utilizing social media to just bring
Sure,
joy
yeah.
to people. I mean, it's just, I never thought I had that in me until I just tried. I've like
Totally.
grown up, done dance and all of that, but that I never did theater. I never did anything. And now I'm like, God, I love it. It's just so freeing to just be silly and dorky and just
Yeah,
connect with
for
people.
sure. No, yeah, for sure. It's this the irony of social media kind of making the world so much smaller for me, making me
Mhm.
less judgmental towards people all across the country and the world. And then also like making the world so much smaller. Like I'm talking to you and I'm just realizing how similar all of us are,
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
cool. It's a really cool experience. It's been
It's
for
fun.
sure.
It's
I do
fun.
want to add one thing to this because I am silly too. And I know you feel the same way. I am very silly, but I do take, especially this crocheting stuff and what I'm doing very seriously.
Yeah.
I love having fun, but I also equally love excruciating detail and being, you know what I mean? I love the work too. So, but yeah, for sure. It's a wonderful combination of things.
It's a beautiful combination. I can't wait to see how it goes. What is next for Brochet? What is next for Steven?
We're going to keep on chug-a-lugging, folks. We're going to keep on doing what we're doing. I'm loving all these things. The said movie, by the way, has yarn in it. So it's
It's gonna
I see this.
happen.
I see this as a vehicle to just keep on doing what I'm doing. I will say, I guess the big fun stuff, the most salient, tangible things, is I'm working on a book.
Wow.
Yeah, it is set to be published next year. I think I can say things now. Yeah, I signed a book deal with Page Street, which is awesome. They're a really rad company. They're awesome, small boutique. They care about what I care about. They're ethical and moral. And yeah, it's going to be, we don't know what it's called yet, but it's set to be out early next year. We're going to do a whole tour, the whole thing. It's going to be like 25 to 30 plus of my fuzzy weapon builds, like a how-to, and then also a whole bunch of like the brains and the guts. And then on top of that, like silly little asides, fun little history lessons, the whole thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's really
Thank
cool.
you. Yeah,
And
we're excited about it. It's going to be fun.
yeah, well, once that comes to be, definitely come back on and we'll talk more about what that
Oh,
entails and get people
deal.
to,
I'd love to.
yeah,
But
yeah, we got to
all of
keep
the
this
work right
going.
now, all of the work is going to all of the weapons you see, everything is going to be basically chapters of the book.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you have ever thought that this would be what you were doing last year, where you were now? Or even, I will say, and let's take it back a little bit. Let's take it back
Sure.
10 years.
Absolutely not. But also, yes. You know what I mean? There's that like version where it's like, no, but like, yeah, hasn't everything I've been doing leading me here?
Yeah.
You know, writing for kids comedy, writing for like kids networks and things like that. And like, you know, producing sketch, it's put me right where I need to be, you know, for sure.
That's really cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. This has just been such a fun conversation, and it's good to know you. I'm inspired by you. I'm inspired by everything that you're doing, and I think that's just the beauty of the art community.
Courtney, thank you. I am equally inspired by you. I love your art, and honestly, thank you so much for bringing me on. This has been fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the show this week. Please make sure to click the follow button on your podcast app so you never miss a new episode of the show. And remember, if you want to nominate a small business artist for an upcoming episode, send an email to the address listed in show notes and let me know all about them. Until next time, stay creative.